whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom, and understanding. We, thine unworthy servant, here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, and to guide us in all our consultations. And grant that we, having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudice, and partial affections, the result of all our counsel may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety and honor and happiness of the Queen, the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estate within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Massage it somewhere. It's like a broom, you know? Go and use it.
Please be seated. This Honorable House now resumes its sitting. Call of the roll.
Mrs. Holness, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Holness, Dr. Clark, Dr. Chang, Mr. Montague, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Samuda, Ms. Grange, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Malawu Fort, Dr. Tufton, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Charles, Mr. Green, Mr. Terrelong, Ms. Smith, Mr. Main, Dr. Dunn, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Davis, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown Burke, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Clark, Mr. Cousins, Mrs. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Ms. Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Henriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Ms. Lee, Mr. Miller, Ms. Morrison, Ms. Nita, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Sibbles, Mr. Slowly, Mrs. Vaz, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Witter, Mr. Wright. Anybody came in?
Members, just before we move into the agenda, just a little housekeeping note for us all as parliamentarians. In furtherance of our continued resolve to enable the essence of the standing orders to be preserved at all times, I want to remind the House that, because I checked carefully on this last night, whenever a vote is to be taken, the standard response that the Speaker gets from the House is either an A or a nay. So that when you say those in favor, those against, whenever the term divide is used, it really denotes uncertainty in the mind of the speaker as to what the majority position of the House is. That is what divide relates to. I have read maize and I've looked at it. It relates to whether the speaker is uncertain as to what the majority position of the House is. So that if you make ask those in favor, and there's a preponderance of ayes, then the speaker would determine that the majority position is what it is. And therefore, the term divide is not to be used for a divisive purpose or anything. It really originates from the House of Commons, where you have 300 people sitting in a room and there's another 400 outside. If there's a vote on something and there's a preponderance of ayes, then there is no need for divide. At the discretion of the speaker, we just move on. It's not a matter of, it's not a right, as it were. It is to indicate, the term divide is to indicate clearly what the majority position of the House is. So I just want to say it, and it is not said in any vein that is it. It is just to indicate to the House as we move forward, because it is my intention to follow the standing orders as closely as it is possible for us to do. And I read, and I say very thing that it is to indicate A and nay where the majority position of the House, where does the majority go in terms of the vote that we are taking. So, yes.
Speaker, of course, I'm guided by your learned views expressed. My understanding, though, is that on the matter of when it comes to a vote and a determination and a resolution or any aspects of the business of the House, if there is the term divide in this sense that I used it yesterday, was to call the individual to take the vote by individual names, and for that I had to await the putting of the question first, and before there's a response, I indicate that we wish for there to be a roll call on it and to take the votes according to the roll call.
I read carefully, and to be very sure what it is, when you call it, what they say in maize, is that you, and the standing orders, my bag is in the room, is that if you say those in favor, A or nay, if there's a preponderance of A's, you know that's where the majority of it goes. And what you do say is not divide. What you call out and say is no. And then when you call out and say no, I would then know that there's a problem. But it is still at the speaker's discretion. And if there is a preponderance of A's, there is no way that there is need for divide. And it does give discretion to the speaker. And I want to do that because what I'm careful about is that I really would like us to learn what the standing order says, to follow it, and also to remember it is not to be used just to disrupt or to indicate something.
Madam Speaker, let me be guided. I point you specifically to Standing Order 44 and below. Correct. At the conclusion of a debate, the question shall be put by the Speaker or the Chairman, and the vote may be taken by voices A or no, and the result shall be declared by the Speaker or Chairman stating, I think the ayes have it, or I think the noes have it, as the case may be. But any member may challenge the opinion of the Chair by claiming a division.
But
okay.
Read what it says.
Yeah.
You can, if there is a preponderance of A's, there is nothing to challenge. Because if we're in a house where I've asked the question and you hear A's and there are so many and you have 6, there is a preponderance of A's there.
Madam Speaker.
It is not what I want us to recognize, that it is not to be disruptive.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. When you're speaking, the member can be on his feet. He must show that respect to you.
Yes. In all fairness, the leader always shows respect. What I'm trying for us to have clarity with, and it says it in the words, it says, as the case may be, but any member may challenge, listen, any member may challenge. I would please just listen because it's important. I don't want you to. Any member may challenge the opinion of the chair. No, there is no basis to challenge the opinion of the chair if there's a preponderance of A's. It is just disruptive. That is the position. It cannot be used just for interruption. And I read this section and I read the maze as well for guidance.
Maze applies where there's a lacuna in our standing orders to help fill it. I must confess, since I've been in Parliament, coming to the Senate in 2007 to date, I have never heard the view that you have put forward this morning in relation to a divide. There is a practice in the Parliament of Jamaica that where a matter is being put by the Speaker or the Chairman to a vote, any member can call for a divide. And the effect of that call is that a roll call is then taken to identify the individual votes of each member. And each member can either say yes or no, or can abstain. It is then tallied by the clerk, and the result is read. That is the practice. And when I look at what it says in 44, Madam Speaker, it's quite clear. 45 rather says, any member may challenge the opinion of the chair by claiming a division. So if you say that the nays have it or you say the ayes have it, any member, even that one way over there in the corner or right around there, can say divide. And that triggers a proper counting of the matter. And there's no gloss on it by reference to maize. The practice in this Parliament is quite clear on the matter. And I think what your ruling yesterday was correct. Your ruling yesterday was correct because both I and the Leader of Opposition Business in the House called for a divide. And despite the protestations of others to indicate that the matter had already been determined, you said no, a divide had been called, and the vote was properly tallied. And I don't see any reason to depart from that established practice, which is in keeping with a very clear language in Standing Order 45. Thank you.
Leader of Opposition, just a minute. I do agree with you that it has been the practice since you have been here and probably before, but the practice doesn't make it correct. I went back yesterday, and I do agree with you. The language is clear. It says, but any member may challenge the opinion of the chair. Now, if the opinion of the chair is that there is a preponderance of A's, what is the purpose of challenging the opinion of the chair?
Madam Speaker.
Allow me. One moment. You can challenge it if, in fact, what you get from the House, because the whole purpose of asking those in favor, those against, is to obtain for the purpose of the House what the majority position is. So that if you have a case where the House has a House where it could be either A or nay, and you hear a chorus of A's and a chorus of nays, and I say A, but you know it could go the other way, then you call for the divide. But it was very clear to me yesterday that with the numbers you had there and the A's that came over there, there was nothing to challenge. And what I'm pointing out is just for housekeeping, because my purpose is really to ensure that the essence of the standing orders are adhered to. This is not to be adversarial, because I made the ruling yesterday, but I went back and I looked at it, and I wanted to know where it is. And it is clear, leader, but it says you may challenge. No, you can only challenge something if there is something to challenge. If you have several A's over here and you have 6 or 8 over there, where's the challenge? It's just
Madam
housekeeping.
Speaker, what you're articulating there represents the tyranny of the majority. What you're suggesting is because there's a preponderance
of order,
please,
Madam Speaker. Point of order. The leader of the opposition does have a lot of deference in this chamber, and we do offer that deference. But we urge that when the speaker is speaking, that the leader, like all other members, respect the fact that the speaker is speaking and therefore do not rise to speak. Please, Your Majesty.
Oh, you're not finished. You turn your light off. Sorry, thank you. And I'd urge you to do the same for me. Madam Speaker, I'm not interrupting you. I thought you had made your point and you were asking my response to it. And my response to it is this. Why are you interrupting me? I'm being allowed to finish. Am I stopping you from finishing, ma'am? What? The Prime Minister says. The Prime Minister is saying that I want to capture the floor for the newspaper to carry it. Madam Speaker, what you have said here today, it's a very important matter affecting the procedures of Parliament. And you've articulated a position which is not in accordance with what I believe to be an established practice. You are quite correct that if the practice is inconsistent with the standing orders, it can't supersede the standing orders. However, the practice is not inconsistent with the standing orders. The standing orders are very clear that any member can call for a divide once a decision has been taken as to whether the noes or the yeses have it. Now, it is not a question of what is the purpose of that. If the purpose of that is merely to establish, if the purpose of that was relevant, then we would never be able to have a divide, because the numbers on this side are a mere fraction of the numbers on that side. But the purpose of a divide does more than just establish whether there's a preponderance over there or here. It establishes the importance of the matter to the opposition. It establishes who feels in what way on the particular matter. It accords an opportunity for a member to abstain if they so wish. And there's nothing in the standing orders which suggests that the right to call for a divide is conditional on there being some lack of clarity as to whether the majority will carry. So, Madam Speaker, with all due respect, I think you're quite wrong on this matter. You are the umpire of what happens in here. But I just want to record for prosperity that I do not agree with you. Every member has a right to call for a divide, and it is not a right that is generally abused. How often do we divide in here? Not very often, but when we feel strongly on a matter and we want to register how strongly we feel about it, and we want to have our votes cast and recorded for posterity, we call for a divide. And that's a right that you have exercised many times, and that's a right that we wish to exercise from time to time as well. I disagree with you, Madam Speaker, but I will say no more on the matter this afternoon.
Thank you very much, and I just want to make it very clear that I have checked, and yes, it is a practice, but it is a wrong practice, and it is not in keeping with the standing orders. And when a question is asked, A's and nays are to indicate to the Speaker what the majority position of the House is, and that is how this Speaker will use that position. All right.
Madam Speaker, I want to urge that this Honourable House recognises the efficacies of the standing orders, and that the issue of a divide is not to be an obstructive instrument in the decision-making process of Parliament. But indeed it must be one which aids the Speaker in determining what is the true position of the House on the issues. And therefore, this is where I part company with the leader of the opposition in this regard, because it could mean that any member at any time could, for any reason, call for a divide on any matter, and it obstructs the process of the decision-making in the House. The intention is not to record every single person by way of their own expression, but the intention is to enable what is the will of the House on the matter. And the way that the standing orders has allowed for this is for ayes and nays. And the Speaker, in her discretion, or his discretion, and where there is not a clarity as to what the position of the House is, can indeed accommodate a divide. And I think that that is well understood, and it is in the spirit of that which I believe the Speaker has indicated her position. And I think the House should accept that, and we should move forward to carry through the business of the House for the day. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
I have one question.
Thank you. Just allow me. No, just one. No. This is not meant to be adversarial. I sit here as a speaker, and I think I just wanted to share with you what my position will be, having read the standing orders, having read May's. And regardless of that something has taken place and gone on for years, doesn't make it right. I have read, and I just thought it is best for us to understand when I make a ruling where it is I'm coming for. And I really think we have exhausted it. I've heard your views. I've heard the views of the Leader of the Opposition. I have read, and as a speaker, I believe in all honesty that what it says, the ayes and nays must indicate to me as a speaker what is the majority position of the House, and not merely to be used to indicate what each person votes, or for an interruption, or for emphasis. Thank you. All right. Statements by ministers. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the House today are the following: Ministry Paper number 29 of 2020, entitled Annual Performance Report of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries for the financial year 2020-2021, and Report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the Judiciary Salaries Order 2021.
Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees, notions of...
Madam Speaker, a recommittal of report from committees to allow the chairman of the Privileged Committee.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the Judicial Salaries Order 2021. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice at the next meeting of the House I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the Judiciary Salaries Order 2021, which was laid on the table of the House on the 12th day of 2021, be approved. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice at a later stage today I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, I respectfully ask that the chairman do in fact now state the motion for the efficacy of the process. Please.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion which I gave earlier.
Expiring notice. Motions relating to sittings of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. public business.
Madam Speaker, on the subject of public business, it is intended to do a number of matters today, but I would respectfully ask that we proceed with the continuation of the sectoral debate, which was suspended yesterday, and that the speaker today is going to be the member from Southwest St. Elizabeth and the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, the Honorable Floyd Green.
The question before the House is that the item at public business be suspended to allow us to resume the sectoral debate, at which time the Minister of Agriculture will do his presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Minister Green, and just before he begins his presentation, I'm delighted to have you do so, and we won't tell the Parliament, but we'll have you do so again next week, if you come with the goodies that you do. In fact, there is no divide. The leader of the opposition says every week.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and future. Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Madam Speaker, I'm honored and humbled to stand before you at this time as Jamaica's youngest Minister of Agriculture. I wish to express my gratitude to God for his continued enduring mercies and my appreciation to my parents, June and Ronald Green, for instilling in me the principles that I live by. I cannot deny, Madam Speaker, that my interest in agriculture was cultivated by my father, who studied at the Jamaica School of Agriculture and went on to serve in Agricultural Extension Service and Veterinary Services, both here and in the Cayman Islands. Him taking me on his many trips to the farms has borne fruit, and I thank you, Daddy. Sincere thanks to the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who continues to lead with a steady hand and a level head. I am grateful for your confidence, PM, entrusting me with a most challenging yet fulfilling opportunity to better the lives of the people of Jamaica through agriculture and fisheries. I thank my colleagues in Cabinet and in Parliament. Your collective energy and wisdom continue to propel me on this journey. Opposition spokesperson Agriculture, Lothan Cousins, thanks for your constructive approach, appreciating that there can be no divide in agriculture and fisheries. My sincere appreciation to the team of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, its departments and agencies so ably led by our Permanent Secretary, Dermot Spence, with specific support to my office by Advisor Gabriel Hilton, Communications Specialist Kenisha Campbell, Executive Assistant Ashery Bennett, Senior Secretary Joan Clark, and Close Protection Officer Roxroy Montague. Thanks to the Strike Force team who continues to support the journey with the most amazing photographs and videos. My life partner, Kerida, and my son, Nathaniel Marcos. Your love and patience and encouragement are what sustain me. Madam Speaker, I must say thanks to the people of Southwest St. Elizabeth, to whom I am most indebted. I am grateful for your continued confidence and support as we work together to develop our communities, our lives, and livelihood. I am even more committed now than when we started this journey. Together, we shall ensure that Southwest St. Elizabeth is the best in the country, the Barbara Green way. Madam Speaker, I stand here representing the face of food. 230,000 farmers, 40,000 fishers, our food heroes who have displayed unmatched resilience in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. I represent from the smallest to the biggest, a responsibility that the team does not take for granted. It is the reason, Madam Speaker, why we started this journey by listening to the voices of the people. We held 26 meetings across every parish, interacting with farmers and fishers and using the technology to ensure that we reached all the people. We have had over 20 meetings with various stakeholders, suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, investors, various industry groups, such as our industrial fishers, our cocoa players, our coffee farmers, our Old Farmers Association, among others. Madam Speaker, we are building from the ground up. Our valued stakeholders, our farmers, our fishers, they will not only be participants in projects, programs, or decisions. In fact, our food heroes will know that their input is fundamental in crafting the new face of the sector. Madam Speaker, most of us here are acutely aware of the challenges that face agriculture and fisheries. In fact, these challenges have faced our farmers and fishers for decades. In my lifetime, I have seen steps taken by the late Minister Roger Clark to incorporate the small farmer. I have seen a focus on growing local production by Minister Tufton. I have seen the right sizing of the sugar industry by Minister Carl Samuda, the promulgation of the PMOs by Minister J.C. Hutchinson, and a dedicated push to use idle lands by Minister Audley Shaw. My leg of the journey, therefore, Madam Speaker, will be focused on accelerating the pace of action. Now is the time to transform our agriculture and fisheries sector into a modern, market-driven, research-based, sustainable industry that is focused on value addition. Madam Speaker, allow me to reflect briefly on last year. Despite the challenges, the agriculture sector continued on a positive trajectory. In fact, moving from a production of 69,000 tons in 2019 to 689,000 tons in 2019 to 697,000 tons in 2020, reflecting a growth of 1.2% for the period. It is worth noting, colleagues, that this is the highest level of production ever recorded in the history of our country. Madam Speaker, in relation to our livestock sector, production in 2020 was affected by the pandemic and adverse weather conditions, which saw us encountering issues regarding storage and distribution. Additionally, there was loss of significant market share in the hotel sector that led to excessive inventories of meats such as pork, fish, chicken, and eggs. Many farmers, Madam Speaker, had to cut back their production, some by as much as 50% due to decline in sales. Overall, chicken meat production declined by 7.9% when compared to the previous year, which was in fact a record year. Egg production, however, Madam Speaker, was a shining light and saw an increase of 24.9%, being the highest level of egg production ever recorded in the history of Jamaica. Hear, hear. Madam Speaker, despite being faced with an unprecedented crisis, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries was not daunted. We responded through two aggressive strategic initiatives which have been able to stabilize the sector and return to growth. The first initiative was our buyback program, where the government provided $240 million to assist in the movement of excess produce from farmers to domestic consumers. Our international partners, recognizing the necessity, answered our call, and the Food and Agriculture Organization provided an additional $35 million to support the program. To date, Madam Speaker, this program has impacted over 40,000 farm families and moved 2.5 million kilograms of produce. Our second initiative, Madam Speaker, was our Say Yes to Fresh private-public campaign. Through this new marketing channels were created through our farmers' markets, our drive-through markets, and special package deliveries. In 2020, Madam Speaker, the Ministry, through RADA, facilitated over 114 farmers' markets and 55 drive-through markets, providing a secure and fair market for many of our farmers and introducing affordable and fresh quality produce to the Jamaican populace. In fact, a number of members in this House is very familiar with our farmers' market. Minister Delroy Chuck became our chief advocate. Member Robinson organized. We had in St. James, St. Mary, we had in Portmore and in Clarendon. We also provided support to the less fortunate and quarantine communities through free produce valued at $16 million. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to start this presentation by announcing that we have earmarked $200 million to continue our buyback program. We have to help our farmers navigate this time. We have to help our farmers keep producing. This government, Madam Speaker, will never, ever abandon our farmers. Madam Speaker, we are not out of the woods yet, as the pandemic continues to ravage supply chains and distort market demand, and drive up worldwide prices of corn, soybean, that are critical to animal feed, and nitrogen, which is critical to fertilizer. We are still in a time of crisis, which is why I asked my parliamentary colleagues in Jamaica to join with me and the ministry's team as we craft the new face of food, focusing on food security, agribusiness development, climate-smart technologies, and export expansion. Madam Speaker, let us firstly examine the path towards strengthening our nation's food security. The new face of food revolves around research. If Jamaica is to truly fulfill its green and blue economy potential, we must return to the days when Bodles was considered the premier agricultural research facility in the Western Hemisphere. It is for this reason that over the past 3 years, the government has been executing a program of a massive redevelopment of our research stations under the Bodles Redevelopment Program. Madam Speaker, some $635 million has been pumped into newly built and refurbished facilities, including staff facilities, genetic preservation center, high-tech dairy system, protected agriculture and nursery facilities, pasture and fodder banks, nutrition and chemical laboratories, as well as new machinery such as tractors. For this year, Madam Speaker, an additional $150 million has been committed to complete our new state-of-the-art milking system and to construct a new piggery. This will bring the total injection into research and development over the last 3 years to $750 million. But, Madam Speaker, this is not a short-term drive. We must refocus our sector on research and development. This is a long-term strategy. And as such, the government's Public Infrastructure Management Committee has approved a 10-year, $5 billion project to continue the work to bring all our research and development facilities to the cutting edge. The new face of food is research. Madam Speaker, if we are to truly be food secure, we have to start at the source. Issues regarding our seed stock, importation of seeds, and the development and adoption of new varieties are critical to the path towards food security. It is for that reason, Madam Speaker, that we are fast-tracking our implementation of the national seed policy laid in this House in 2019. Our critical focus over the next 2 years will be to establish a certified outgrower scheme for commercial seed production. This will include colleagues registered and certifying seed producers, developing protocols, and identifying suitable tracts of land and facilities for commercial seed production. We've already started that journey. In fact, we invested, Madam Speaker, US $230,000 in partnership with CARDI to expand and upgrade the seed storage facility at the Bodles Research Center. This facility will host the best quality seeds, including our own seed source from locally developed and indigenous landrace types for vegetables, cover crops, field crops, and legumes. Madam Speaker, this will be a major focus of this financial year. Our crop breeding unit at Bodles will ramp up its seed testing capacity and protocols for the multiplication of specialty seeds, especially organic seeds, as we go for that organic market. Madam Speaker, we've also heard concerns being expressed by our farmers about the quality of some imported seeds. Through our research and extension team and with the support of the Agricultural Land Management Division, we will be partnering with local seed suppliers to evaluate new commercial crop varieties at our research stations and follow up field demonstration plots to track the performance of these crop varieties. This will provide us, Madam Speaker, with early information on seed performance and inform recommendations for the suitability of the varieties for growing areas and inform farmers of best practices. You see, Madam Speaker, this government does not only listen to the cries of our farmers. This government takes action to ensure that we are firmly on the path for food security. Madam Speaker, for decades, our farmers have complained about a lack of adequate storage facilities. For years, they have called upon the government to do more to stem the up to 30% post-harvest loss of perishable fruits and vegetables. COVID-19 again brought this into sharp focus and underscored the need to develop reliable and efficient cold chains that will not only reduce post-harvest crop losses, but also prevent forced sales at low prices when there are gluts on the market. The time has come, Madam Speaker. I am pleased to announce to this Honourable House today that we're embarking this year on a US $1.05 million, 157 million Jamaican agribusiness cold chain project for Jamaica. This project will be carried out over an 18-month period across 6 highly productive areas and will see the establishment of modular, solar-powered walk-in cold rooms that provide unbroken off-grid storage and preservation of perishable foods. But that is not all, Madam Speaker. The project will also see small refrigerated trucks provided to these communities to transport produce to markets. And we are not yet done, because the project will see a network of temperature data loggers in the cold rooms and in the trucks that farmers can monitor remotely using their cellular phone. This, Madam Speaker, is the new face of food. Madam Speaker, this project has been made possible with the help of the government and the people of Morocco through a grant of 945,000 United States dollars. We thank them and we thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, soil is an essential resource and a vital part of our natural environment. In fact, 95% of the food that we eat is produced in soil. Healthy soils are the basis of the food production system. However, the FAO reports that approximately 33% of global soils are degraded. It is critical that for countries striving towards food security, that we pay more attention to soil health. In this regard, Madam Speaker, we have instituted a soil health committee at the Ministry, composed of technical officers from our Land Management Division, RADA, and our universities, CASE, and other stakeholders. This committee, Madam Speaker, will pay keen attention to improving health, yield, and profitability of soils, promoting further education and adoption of healthy soil practices. The committee will also develop a soil health tool that farmers and technical teams can use to provide a quick and basic evaluation of the health of the soil that is being utilized. Additionally, Madam Speaker, our Public Infrastructure Management Committee has approved the Soil Fertility Mapping Project for Sustainable Agriculture, a joint project between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Moroccan National Institute for Agricultural Research. Colleagues, this project will span 4 years and will cost US $1.3 million. And what we will do is design and develop an information system and soil databases that can be used by us as national decision makers and at the local level. We will develop fertilizer recommendations for major crops and establish appropriate fertilizer programs. In fact, we will put in place a geo-reference soil fertility information and expert system, and we will enhance human and technical capacity of our farmers, our extension officers, and our researchers. Madam Speaker, the new face of food, soil health is paramount. Madam Speaker, let me speak a little bit about the production incentive program. You know, as a small island developing state, we have to pick winners. And our team from RADA has done extensive research to see what crops we have the capacity to grow, that have strong internal and external markets, and as such, identify support for those crops. In fact, we have chosen 10 crops, Madam Speaker, and it is worth noting: Irish potato, onion, strawberry, yam, dasheen, cocoa, hot peppers, cassava, ginger, pineapple, lime, and also our vegetable lines and our small ruminants lines. Last year, Madam Speaker, we impacted through our PIP program over 7,000 crop farmers and 1,400 livestock farmers. And we do not intend to stop the momentum. This year, we will place increased focus on our priority crops and livestock under the Production Incentive Program. I am therefore pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that for this year, 1.02 billion Jamaican dollars has been allocated under our Production Incentive Program aimed at boosting the capacity of our farmers and fishers. This will be spread across crop support, livestock, climate change, infrastructure, and equipment. Madam Speaker, when this government sought re-election from the people, we said that to our farmers and fishers that we would give a minimum support of $1 billion for the next 3 years. And Madam Speaker, despite a pandemic, the government has held firm to its commitment. $1 billion for our production incentive program. Madam Speaker, as we craft the new face of food, our farmers need greater access to tools needed to make them more efficient and productive. It is for this reason this year we will be providing 6 new tractors to enhance the RADA tractor service. Madam Speaker, parishes like Manchester, Clarendon, St. Anne, St. Thomas, St. Mary, St. Catherine can look forward to a new tractor. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we are seeking to establish a pool of privately owned tractors that we will lease and then rent to our farmers at subsidized rates. We are also seeking to take this approach in providing subsidized land clearance services. Madam Speaker, you should note that we are also procuring 4 drones to enable our extension officers to better capture data that will guide our farmers in precision-based agriculture. The new face of food is the incorporation of technology. Madam Speaker, allow me to speak a little bit about our traditional crops. Crops like cocoa, coffee, coconut, citrus, banana, and the spices. The reality is that for last year they experienced a mix of ups and downs. But we are determined to reinvigorate these crops through the facilitation of increased private sector-led investments. In relation to the cocoa industry, Madam Speaker, we have re-advertised for expressions of interest for the divestment of the government's cocoa industry assets in a bid to get investors to drive the development of the industry. Madam Speaker, the government would have injected some $426 million to bring the frosty pod rot disease under control. In collaboration with our plant quarantine branch, our farmers and other stakeholders, the frosty pod rot disease in the parish of St. Mary has now been declared under full control. We are well underway in the parish of Clarendon. And this year, Madam Speaker, we have budgeted an additional $103 million to ensure that we cover at minimum 50% of the 5,000 acres in that parish. Madam Speaker, Jamaica has one of 7 fine-flavored cocoas in the world. So we have to get our farmers planting again. To this end, the ministry has established a nursery at the Orange River Research Station that can produce over 60,000 clean planting seedlings of a highly tolerant frosty pod rot disease varieties. And so far, over 5,000 plants have been produced for the program. Madam Speaker, I've asked our Jamaica Agricultural Commodities and Regulatory Authority to further expand this capacity. And I have tasked them to redevelop the Horton Court facility in Hanover for it to become a nursery so we can increase the amount of disease-tolerant plants we have to drive cocoa production. Madam Speaker, all of us in here know that Jamaica produces the best coffee in the entire world. Yes. I was happy to join our most honorable Prime Minister and thousands of coffee stakeholders around the world as we celebrated Blue Mountain Coffee Day. The reality, though, Madam Speaker, is that the industry has not been without its challenges. These challenges include infrastructure, pricing, climatic changes, phytosanitary needs, and social issues, which have affected the production and, by extension, the earning power of the industry. Madam Speaker, this government is providing over $100 million worth of inputs and subsidy for the processing of farmers' coffee. As we speak, we're mobilizing fertilizer to help our coffee farmers. We're also exploring new markets for our coffee and have enlisted the support of JAMPRO to that end. We will also be working with the Ministry of Finance and our international partners to have a dedicated infrastructure program for the Blue Mountain coffee area. The industry, Madam Speaker, will have to confront the issue of ensuring that those who farm coffee can work a livable wage, or that they can move up the value chain to maximize the returns on their investments. That's why, Madam Speaker, I've asked JACRA to develop the coffee industry business model and to use public-private partnerships to drive that process. The plan, Madam Speaker, will have a dedicated focus to resuscitate high mountain coffee, to expand the reach of Blue Mountain coffee, and to expand public-private partnerships. In fact, I have met with our coffee farmers, our exporters, our major players like Salada and Nestle to gather their views and to share my vision. As a part of our public-private collaboration, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce that Nestle Jamaica Limited, in recognition of its 80th year of doing business in Jamaica, has decided to demonstrate its long-term commitment to the country by scaling up coffee production in Jamaica's high mountain region. Nestle has committed to provide funding support, technical assistance, and planting material through nursery support. The program will be carried out for an initial 7 years, but Nestle has committed that the program will be undertaken for a total of 25 years. I think that is commendable, and we commend Nestle on that drive. Madam Speaker, let me turn a little bit to sugar. This year, Cabinet approved the final portion of a 3-year subsidy of $119 million to facilitate transportation and logistics of moving 35,000 metric tons of sugarcane from Clarendon, St. Catherine and Trelawney to the Worthy Park factory. Madam Speaker, the traditional way of operating and managing this industry is over. The industry is private sector-led, and with innovative leadership and a facilitatory environment, then the industry can reverse the trend of decline. In this regard, several initiatives are underway to right-size the government apparatus around sugar and to make it more effective and efficient to respond to emerging demands. This includes an organizational review of the Sugar Industry Authority and making additional lands available as we work with Worthy Park and Frome to expand their sugar production. In fact, they have indicated that an additional 5,000 acres will be put into sugar cultivation this year. Pan-Caribbean, the owners of the Monimus factory, are in discussion with parties who have expressed an interest in the assets. With the successful divestment of these assets, sugarcane production, along with concomitant economic activities, would recommence in the South Clarendon belt. Madam Speaker, the tremendous demand for coconuts and its byproducts, such as coconut water and coconut oil, is a clear opportunity for our country. Over the last year, we've expanded our nurseries at Barton Isles and Plantation Garden. We've distributed over 75,000 seedlings and planted over 100,000 seed nuts. But we need to accelerate this pace. Grace Foods, Madam Speaker, has indicated that they could utilize 24,000 coconuts daily to satisfy their coconut water needs. To this end, the Coconut Industry Board, both government and our growers, are looking to enter into a suitable public-private partnership to accelerate the pace of expansion. Under the partnership, Madam Speaker, we're looking to produce 400,000 seedlings per year, which would be a 400% increase, and to plant over 3,000 acres of coconut. Madam Speaker, a lot has been said in recent time about agricultural land. The need for sufficient arable land is critical to our food security. And as Minister, I am seized of that fact. And I will work assiduously to protect all our agricultural land. We cannot, Madam Speaker, approach the preservation of agricultural land as we have over the last 5 decades. That approach has focused more on preservation and less on utilization, and has left us with thousands of hectares of agricultural land that has been transformed into informal settlements, and countless of hectares of unused and underutilized land. So in this new dispensation, Madam Speaker, my approach is threefold. We're going to increase our agricultural land bank. We're going to assess all the ministry's land holdings and craft a structured, strategic approach to their use, and we're going to engage the private sector. Colleagues, part of my vision is for lands that are good agricultural lands, that are owned by government, but are now outside the purview of the Ministry of Agriculture, that those lands be transferred to the Ministry of Agriculture. In this regard, Madam Speaker, we have engaged the National Housing Trust and the National Land Agency to transfer land to the ministry that is more appropriate for agriculture. Madam Speaker, colleagues, the Agro-Invest Corporation has recently gained control of 4,000 hectares of land 9,000 acres, which would have otherwise gone into housing or something else, that will now be used for agricultural production. Madam Speaker, the ministry that I now lead has seen the return of land into agriculture. We are not only protecting, we are increasing the fold. Absolutely. Colleagues, we are putting land to use. The SCJH approved some 117 leases covering 3,000 acres of land. This brings to 10,000 hectares or 25,000 acres of land leased between 2018 and 2021. The purposes for which the lands were leased were dependent on the type of land being leased, and they include sugarcane, cash crops, animal rearing, hemp, cannabis, castor bean, agro-processing, commercial activities, solar energy, mining of aggregates, and a climate-smart demonstration site. Of note, Madam Speaker, the Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings has collaborated with the All Island Cane Farmers Association to facilitate hundreds of former sugar workers to establish alternative economic livelihoods in Trelawney and St. Thomas. And let me explain what I mean. In Trelawney, we have leased some 3,600 acres of the former Long Pond estate lands to the All-Island sugarcane farmers to establish a project known as Trelawney Pride for their small farmers. In St. Thomas, 560 acres have been put to the All-Island cane farmers, which through subleases are being leased to former sugar workers who were displaced by the closure of the Golden Grove sugar factory. We haven't stopped because there was a long-standing matter that the member from East St. Thomas will tell you. And this government has provided 500 acres of land to the Planting Garden River Cooperative Society, a community-based organization for them to lease to their small farmers. We are ensuring that small farmers are not left out. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we're seeking to attract medium-sized investment. So what have we done? We, the government, have leased land from SEPROD, 800 acres, that we believe was prime for agro-investment. And we have asked for requests for proposals for people to submit to do agro-processing and to expand job creation in that St. Thomas belt. In fact, we have leased another 500 acres, and we have used that through private-public partnership to establish a modern cattle breeding operation with emphasis on Red Pole and Jamaica Black. This operation will provide jobs and other major economic spin-offs. But I don't want you to believe it's only St. Thomas. In Westmoreland, the SCJH has approved a proposal for the sale of 350 acres to investors to build a US $300 million bamboo pulp factory, which is expected to create 500 jobs when operating at full capacity. And we heard Minister Shaw speak about the bamboo industry yesterday. So, Madam Speaker, we are focused on the utilization of land. The last thing that I will say on this point, Madam Speaker, is that we are carrying out, and this point is very important, we are carrying out an assessment of all of our leases. And I'm putting the lessees on guard. I have given the SCJH strict instructions. If you lease land from government, you should be using it. You should be creating jobs. You should be moving the economy. And this is the year of use it or lose it. Madam Speaker, finally regarding land, I met with Minister Aubin here. and he has set an ambitious target of 10,000 titles for this year. And I want to assure my agricultural land holdings that the significant majority of those titles will be for agricultural land. We're going to be putting titles in the hands of people who own agricultural land this year. Madam Speaker, in recognition of the need to structure the livestock industry and to harness the opportunities of the sector, the Ministry did a strategic review of initiatives geared towards small ruminants and cattle, dairy and beef. We have decided, Madam Speaker, to expand the reach of the Jamaica Dairy Development Board. And as such, I am pleased to announce today that I have taken the policy decision to transform the Jamaica Dairy Development Board into the National Livestock Development Board. This will be supported by a revised act and the development of a national livestock development policy. The National Livestock Development Board will embrace the wider livestock industry without diminishing the focus on the dairy industry. It will prioritize coordinating and accelerated development of and investment in livestock and dairy industries. It will include, among other things, not just focusing on goat meat, but looking into meat and milk products, such as cottage cheese. We will develop a livestock marketing information system. We will develop a herd management and animal registration system for small ruminants. We will also design and develop a system to export Jamaican livestock meats and meat byproducts. We will work with our cooperatives to do small-scale processing among cluster participants, and we will promote and facilitate product diversification. Madam Speaker, our livestock sector will finally get the attention they deserve. But Madam Speaker, while we build out our National Livestock Board, we have to ride and whistle. The demand for locally grown meat is tremendously high. In fact, we import 80 to 85% of our consumptive needs. Between 2015 and 2019, over 1 million kilograms of goat meat was imported, valuing US $3.7 million. Madam Speaker, I'm announcing today that we will be launching a special artificial insemination and embryo transfer project for small ruminants to the tune of $50 million. Under this program, Madam Speaker, to be headed by our Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr. Osbill Watson, over 6,000 small ruminant farmers will be provided with between 1 to 3 inseminations from any breed of their choice, and an ovum embryo transfer from selected animals completely free of cost. Madam Speaker, the objective is for rapid multiplication of the small ruminant population to satisfy the nation's animal protein demand in a sustainable, food secure way. Madam Speaker, this is a game changer. It will create a new face of our livestock industry, as through the application of new and existing technology, our farmers can rapidly expand production to ensure our country's food security. Madam Speaker, I must address an issue because there is a reality brought about through the COVID-19 crisis. Our feed prices are seeing exponential increase. This, members of the House, is largely due to what is happening on the international stage. Corn prices have risen by 80% on the world market between September 2020 and May 2021. Our soybean prices have risen by 35%. The average feed prices worldwide have risen by 64% on the international market. Locally, we have seen increases of between 15 to 20% across all feed categories. Madam Speaker, this is a real threat to the industry. I have asked Permanent Secretary Dermot Spence to meet with the main producers to explore ways to contain costs. I have also asked the research and development team to revive our drive to explore local substitution. In the short term, Madam Speaker, we're exploring the potential of subsidizing some of the costs and some of our farmers. But as a medium to long-term measure, our country will really have to look at purchasing and storing some of the critical inputs to guard against these fluctuations in times of crisis. Let us talk about our farm road program. Madam Speaker, in last year with a budget of $375 million, we were able to rehabilitate 56 roads with another 10 in various stages of completion. For this year, Madam Speaker, we have $650 million, which has been allocated to rehabilitate 63 farm roads right across rural Jamaica, ensuring increased access to markets and ease of transportation of goods and services. Madam Speaker, we have reviewed and revamped the farm road program. This year's policy directive targets a minimum of 1 farm road per farming constituency, selected in consultation with the Member of Parliament. Additional roads will be awarded from RADA's master list, which consists of recommendations from PMOs, Jamaica Agricultural Society groups, extension officers, and various stakeholders. Each year, we will attempt to undertake a number of marquee farm road projects. Madam Speaker, what we're doing, and let me pause for the time.
House Leader, the Minister's time for speaking has expired.
2 more terms?
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the member's time be extended by 15 minutes in the first instance to allow him to complete his presentation, Madam Speaker.
Did I hear the House Leader say sufficient
I think he said
time?
sufficient time.
Sufficient time to complete his presentation.
Thank you.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against?
Madam Speaker, just to indicate before I recommence, we have handed out an invitation, Madam Speaker. You will not be getting a speech. If you want the speech, you hold your smartphones up to the QR code that is provided, and you hold your smartphones up to the QR code that is provided on the invite, and it will automatically pop up. You just click on it and you can see the speech virtually. You just open your camera, point it on the QR code, and it will come up.
Are we getting smartphones to
All right, let me continue, Madam Speaker, and I will move quickly. Madam Speaker, I was on the farm roads, and what I'm saying, outside of the allocations per community, what we plan to do starting this year is that we will identify probably 2 or 3 marquee projects. You know, we who have the farm roads, we understand that oftentimes the allocation is not sufficient to do the road. So what we want in those highly productive zones, we identify a major project, and we will do that straight through to completion. That is the approach that we will take in addition to doing the smaller projects. So I just want farmers to rest assured, farmers in areas like Leamington, in East Westmoreland, farmers in areas like Comfort Road, in Southwest Clarendon, New Fine Road in Southeast St. Anne, farmers in Nuts River, in St. Thomas, farmers in Ragsville, in St. Catherine, Africa to Hope, well, those farmers in St. Mary, and places like I can't call all of them. I can't call all of them. But places like New Pen in St. Mary, Douglas Castle in St. Anne, and Flaggerman in St. Elizabeth can look for farm road improvements coming your way. Madam Speaker, we continue on our fruit tree planting program. And last year we distributed about 43,000 fruit and timber trees as we supported the Prime Minister's national tree planting program. Madam Speaker, our Borders Research Station, Orange River, Mount Pelion, and Hope Gardens nurseries, they received an in-kind and cash injection of $250 million to support seedlings production, promotion, and distribution. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to advise the House that for this year, we will be distributing over 1 million fruit tree seedlings, including ackee, mango, breadfruit, soursop, jackfruit. Madam Speaker, we will take a partnership approach, and I say to you, my colleagues in the House, you will not be left out. We expect you to be participants in this program as we take personal responsibility for our food security. Madam Speaker, let me speak a little bit about fisheries. We will not truly harness our full potential until we truly harness the blue economy. Opportunities abound in the development of new fisheries, energy, clean water generation, and the harvesting of marine flora. Madam Speaker, I have assured my fishers that as we craft a new face of food, they will not be left behind. In fact, they will be given an equal seat at the table. Last year, Madam Speaker, we provided an incentive of $146 million to facilitate small-scale fishers to get back into production. Already, more than 2,500 fishers have received grants, and 72 fish farmers are benefited from fish meal and fingerlings production. We are working with the NFA and members of Parliament to target an additional 2,000 fishers who will receive grants in the coming weeks. We also, Madam Speaker, supported our industrial fishers to the tune of $83 million for finfish, conch, and lobster operators. It should be noted, Madam Speaker, these industrial fishers directly support more than 6,000 jobs and generate foreign exchange earnings of US $12 million annually. Madam Speaker, as we strive towards food security, it is critical that we assess our finfish stock levels. It is a fact, Madam Speaker, if we are not careful, we can lose our most bountiful resource. All of us have seen the declines and the negative impact of overfishing. We are particularly concerned, Madam Speaker, about the parrotfish, especially because of the critical role it plays in protecting our coral reefs. Madam Speaker, with this in mind, the NFA, the National Fisheries Authority, will be developing a national assessment program that will include an island-wide reef fish survey, including our parrotfish and other herbivores. The survey, Madam Speaker, will provide us with the data that will aid in determining the diversity and the abundance of these species, and will facilitate the implementation of an ecosystem-based approach to sustainable management of fisheries. The NFA will also start consultations this year towards promulgating regulations that will seek to establish minimum size limits on catch for all reef fish species. The Ministry will also be seeking to introduce regulations to govern and restrict the use of beach signs and trawl nets. We will develop guidelines for the proper construction of these nets and where and how these nets may be used in a responsible and sustainable manner. We are also developing a training program with the Hart NSTA Trust and the Caribbean Maritime Institute University, to develop training programs including boat captaincy, dive training, certification courses for any fisher who wants to learn to sail, operate boats, or to scuba for fish. Madam Speaker, when I went on the listening tour, our fishers complained bitterly about the licensing and registration process. They said it takes far too long, that it is too onerous in this modern world. To address this concern, Madam Speaker, we will be embarking on a US $1.2 million national online licensing and registration system for our fishers, fish farmers, and other stakeholders. Madam Speaker, this new fisheries licensing and registration system is financed by an IDB loan and will be implemented over the next 2 years. The project also includes new infrastructure for the NFA. But, Madam Speaker, this new system will allow any fisher, any fish farmer, to anywhere, anytime, using their cell phone to register to become a part of the National Fisheries Authority. This is the new face of fisheries. Madam Speaker, we will embark on a fishing beach rehabilitation project. We expect to do 15 beaches over the next 5 years at a total cost of $2 billion. We are starting with 3 beaches this year, and we will be targeting beaches in Clarendon, Hanover, and St. Elizabeth. The development, you like that, Ms. Davis? The development of the fishing beaches will include cold storage, sanitation facilities, a safe food market arrangement, fishing equipment storage, and general security systems. Additionally, the NFA is currently procuring 10 refrigerated containers to be placed in fishing communities that meet the requirements to manage these cold storage facilities. Members of this House, aquaculture is a real opportunity. The ability to expand participants in aquaculture is critical to our food security. But if we are to achieve this, we have to have a modern and efficient hatchery facility. Madam Speaker, we will get this done. This year, we will start the construction of a new aquaculture facility at the National Fisheries Authority Aquaculture Branch in Twickenham Park, St. Catherine, at an estimated cost of 69 million Jamaican dollars. This project is being funded through the World Bank and is expected to be completed by 2023. Madam Speaker, this new hatchery will increase our fingerling production by 300%. We will move from a capacity of 1.5 million fry per year to 5 million fry per year when it is fully operational. What this means, Madam Speaker, is that over the next few years, we can transform our freshwater fish capacity by some 400% to 870 million tons. And Madam Speaker, we're coupling this with launching, come next month, a promotional campaign to encourage more Jamaicans to eat freshwater fish such as tilapia. Madam Speaker, the safety of our fishers is critical. In fact, a number of us who have fishing constituencies know people who have been lost at sea. I know a number, Madam Speaker, across my constituency, and it is very difficult for their families. And as such, we have to take greater steps to protect them while they're at sea. That is why we will institute a modern, improved, satellite-based vessel monitoring system, which is going to be piloted this year by our conch fishers. In fact, Madam Speaker, by 2023, the Ministry will be adding a marine VHF radio communication system, which will further serve to enhance the safety of our fishers at sea. What this means, Madam Speaker, is that when our fishers are at sea, they will be able to communicate to us and tell us about their distress situations, and our JDF and our other first responders can track their location and can go to them to provide assistance. Madam Speaker, I will quickly go through the other critical areas. One of the big things that I'm very happy about is that we recognize that to build a modern sector for our farmers and fishers, they must have access to financial services. They must have access to services that minimize their personal and professional risk. Madam Speaker, we have to send a clear signal that farming and fishing are valid and valued professions. That is why we engage the private sector on behalf of our farmers and fishers, and out of it, the health and life insurance policies for our farmers and fishers have been born. The Sagicor Agri-Care Plan and the Guardian Life Fisheries Agricultural Multi-Advantage Insurance Scheme mean that now our farmers and fishers can get health and life insurance, a first in Jamaica's history. Madam Speaker, I use this stage to urge our farmers and fishers to take advantage of these programs. Sign up now, especially now that they are in the open enrollment period. We aren't finished, Madam Speaker. We will have to deal with the issue of fishing vessel insurance, and we will have to deal with the issue of crop insurance. But I can say we are already working with our private sector in that regard. Madam Speaker, extension services is essential to agribusiness development. Our farmers are entrepreneurs, and as such, business principles have to be applied for our farmers to achieve greater productivity and better market engagement. Since September 2020, we have launched a Farming as a Business training course, which is being done in collaboration with Canada's Commonwealth of Learning. We have trained all our RADA extension officers, and we are going to now administer this program to registered farmers through their farmers groups. This program, Madam Speaker, provides farmers with training in record keeping, tracing and managing their day-to-day expenses, how to qualify for loans, how to access small business benefits, how to take greater care in market analysis, how to organize the business component of their agricultural operations. And we will be rolling out this training program this year. The other thing that we have to do is to use the technology to better administer extension services. So, Madam Speaker, this year and over the next 2 years, we are rolling out the Extension Activities Services Management System, a software system which our extension officers will use to input real-time data about farmers and their activities. Importantly, members of this House, we will be able to track our extension officers. We can track them in real time, and we will be able to know who they visit, how long they have spent, what information they have gathered, what type of support they have given, so that we can validate that our farmers are getting the best extension service in the world. I've also asked that the text messages and the WhatsApp groups be used to engage our farmers. And I've said to each extension officer and each parish manager that you must mobilize your farmers in these groups and use the technology to share the information. Madam Speaker, agricultural education is critical. And as we build a modern agricultural sector, we have to have the support from our education sector. Science, research, and application programs in agricultural education must remain robust and essential. I'm excited that Minister Williams announced that the government plans to build STEM schools. And, Madam Speaker, these STEM schools must include agricultural science. The education system must be structured in a way that applied agriculture based on business principle is taught from the primary through to secondary to our tertiary level. In this year, Madam Speaker, we're providing $20 million to support the College of Agriculture, Science and Education to assist with the completion of selected projects. We're also going to be helping Nakalva, Sydney Pagan, and other secondary institutions through inputs, stock and infrastructure support to the tune of $100 million. Madam Speaker, already through public-private partnership, Nakalva has a new state-of-the-art agro-processing lab built through USAID. And we are about to break ground to construct a $35 million agro-processing facility at the Sidney Pagan High School, which will be done by the J. Ray and Nephew Foundation. Madam Speaker, as we craft the new face of food, youth have to be at the forefront.
Hear, hear.
It is time for farming over flossing, investment over braffing, acres over markets. Madam Speaker, we know our youth are interested in agriculture. Our job as government is to provide opportunities for guidance, for growth, profit, and innovation. To this end, Madam Speaker, I have directed the ministry that 20% of all of its benefits should be put to youth in agriculture.
Hear, hear.
That means, Madam Speaker, we will be ring-fencing $200 million from our productivity incentive program to help our young people in agriculture. We are not stopping there. I have directed the ministry that 20% of all agricultural land under government control should be reserved for youth under preferential terms. Madam Speaker, we will publish the lands that are so reserved and the methodology to acquire same within the next quarter. We are also, Madam Speaker, expanding our rural youth economic empowerment program. Youth participants will be exposed to life skills, entrepreneurship, and the necessary tools to assess and pursue business opportunities. They will also receive a Kickstart grant of $50,000 and up to 6-month business coaching. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to advise that each rural member of Parliament will be allowed to select 10 participants for the REAP Rural Youth Economic Empowerment Program. Madam Speaker, this year we will do the Youth in Agriculture policy. We're also launching an advocate council, a council of young people between the ages of 18 to 35 who will meet quarterly with me as minister and provide policy direction, establish programs and communication strategies to ensure that we get more youth in farming. As Kenroy James would say, youth for farm. Madam Speaker, we're also seeking to attract more women in agriculture and fisheries. I want to express my sincere thanks to the Jamaica Network of Rural Women for the essential role that they have been playing in engaging new women in agriculture and expanding the reach of our women farmers. We have launched agriculture in Bloom, and we're going to be working with the Ministry of Gender Affairs. This Agriculture in Bloom is a multifaceted program to celebrate our women involved in agriculture and fisheries and highlight them as examples to inspire other women. I want to publicly thank the participants for sharing their stories. This year, Madam Speaker, we seek to engage 50 women who are at different stages of their agri-entrepreneurial journey and help them to transition. We will be providing inputs, training, and grant funding. Madam Speaker, I have to speak a little bit about predial larceny, because predial larceny continues to be a scourge on our society. We have been working assiduously under the leadership of Deputy Commissioner Clifford Blake and Assistant Commissioner of Police Bishop Gary Welsh to pursue several strategies aimed at reducing the incidence of predial larceny. In fact, this year we established 7 predial larceny units across police divisions, namely Trelawney, St. Catherine South, Clarendon, St. Mary, St. Elizabeth, and St. Thomas. Madam Speaker, we have been reaping some success. In fact, we saw a 60% increase in predial larceny arrests, moving from 72 in 2019 to 114 in 2020. Madam Speaker, our pre-deal lasting operations also moved from 289 in 2019 to 811, a 180% increase, and we recovered over 70 animals that were returned to their owners. More will be done, Madam Speaker. This year, we intend to implement a pilot rollout of the Agricultural Wardens Program that is aimed at putting more boots on the ground. We're going to launch community farm watch groups, and we're going to, members of this House, target the market spaces. Stolen agricultural produce should have nowhere to go. Madam Speaker, as I am winding down, let me speak a little bit about agri-investment. We are going to be tabling the Agro-investment Amendment Bill, and I intend to table and start the debate next week. This bill gives the Agro-Invest Corporation wide-ranging powers and allows it to place renewed focus on investment generation. Madam Speaker, in that vein, Spur Tree Spices has committed to invest over $100 million to develop an agro-processing facility at the Holland Estate in St. Elizabeth. Already, they have spent $44 million in that regard. And Madam Speaker, this is in keeping with a new wave of investments in agriculture. You know, Madam Speaker, I listened to some of the presentations in this House. And if you listen to some of them, you would believe that there is no value addition happening in Jamaica. You would believe that there is no agri-investment taking place in Jamaica. But, Madam Speaker, that flies in the face of Rainforest Seafoods opening a brand new bami-making factory. Madam Speaker, Grace Foods have targeted that they are going to export 50% of what they produce by 2025. Madam Speaker, True Juice is now in the dairy milk industry. Seprod is exporting cassava flour. Salada has a new innovation, turmeric and ginger tea. B&D Trawling is doing escovitch sauce. In fact, you have seen the announcements by Jamaica Broilers and Caribbean Broilers. And Caribbean Broilers is currently investing $15 billion in a facility called the Nest. Madam Speaker, this segment is important because it is important for people to know what is happening in agro-investment. Madam Speaker, there's a local company called Shavot, an agro-processing company based in Winters Pen, St. Catherine. During COVID-19, they saw a 400% increase in demand for their products. They have had to institute a 24-hour workday and employ now 53 people, with 90% of their production being exported to 15 countries. Absolutely. You know what is the next step for them, Madam Speaker? They are now going to invest $250 million to construct a new factory on 511 acres of land that they are leasing from the government in Innswood, St. Catherine. Madam Speaker, those who say it cannot be done should not stand in the way of those who are doing it. Madam Speaker, quickly in relation to our climate reality, we have to continue to engage climate-smart technologies. We are expanding our irrigation network, Madam Speaker, because water is life for our farmers. And in fact, we have a £35 million UK CIF-funded Essex Valley Agricultural Development Project, which is underway in South St. Elizabeth and South Manchester. which we are going to put 718 hectares of land into irrigation and production. In St. Catherine and Clarendon, we have a $17 million pound project that we're going to put some 795 hectares of land under irrigation cover. Madam Speaker, to be honest, these projects should have been done 2 to 3 decades ago. So I have said to the team that the timelines must be met, and they have to accelerate the pace of implementation. This year, we have $605 million to lay irrigation pipelines and to also strengthen our capacity building initiatives and to construct a global gap facility in that southern Clarendon belt. We also have an additional $300 million to dig wells in Parnassus in Clarendon. Madam Speaker, we are working now with the French government to fund the multi-billion-dollar Pedro Plains irrigation scheme, which will lift water from the Black River and irrigate the plains of southern St. Elizabeth. But, Madam Speaker, as we wait for these big projects, we have to do some small ones. I have said to my NIC team that we have to go back to the days of ponds and catchment areas. And as such, Madam Speaker, as we seek to build resilience, sustainability, and to increase productivity, we are undertaking the refurbishment of 10 catchment ponds in Manchester, St. Anne, and St. Elizabeth. These will be used to support greenhouses, open field production irrigation systems, and already we have started preliminary work to identify other areas where we can build catchment areas or ponds to serve the farmers. Madam Speaker, we will continue to expand our fish sanctuaries program. This is critical to our climate resilience. In fact, we have identified 4 additional areas to be designated as sanctuaries, including, and I know the member from Clarendon would like to hear this, including an area in the Pedro Keys, which is a part of our commitment. This year, what we will be doing, Madam Speaker, is working with our sanctuaries so they can be more self-sufficient. So we want a number of them to start mariculture and polyculture. So you will see a number of our sanctuaries growing food in the seas. We want them to focus on things like sea moss, oysters, and we have already secured funding through the World Bank to lead off this project. And we will be specifically targeting women in these communities. Madam Speaker, oftentimes we don't speak about our public gardens, but as we face the reality of climate change, our public gardens have to be at the forefront of what we do. And COVID-19 has brought to the fore that we need more green spaces. This year, we'll be undertaking the following. In St. Thomas, we will be rehabilitating the Bath Botanical Gardens, including a renovation of the perimeter fence and entrance, a construction of a new bathroom for persons with disabilities. We will be labeling all the plants, installing storyboards, and renovating the gazebos. In St. Mary, we have a 5-year, €6 million project for the Castleton Botanical Gardens. Member Dunn, we will be seeing to an overall management system for the Wagwater River. We will do a complete landscape remodel of Castleton. We will improve the perimeter fence, and we will increase biodiversity and install a new shade house. We will also, Madam Speaker, be partnering with Minister Bartlett and the Tourism Enhancement Fund. And we will be embarking on the Holland Bamboo replanting project to the tune of $8 million. We will bring back the former glory of Holland Bamboo. Madam Speaker, I have tasked the Public Gardens team to identify areas in each parish for green spaces. So I say to members of Parliament, if you have suggestions, reach out to our Public Gardens team. We want a botanical garden in each parish, at minimum. I would say in each constituency, but let us start with each parish until we get that done. Madam Speaker, my final segment speaks about export expansion. Madam Speaker, you know, you might not know, and this part is critical. Madam Speaker, despite the challenges of COVID-19, despite the extreme weather conditions, in 2020, the agriculture sector realized an 8.4% increase in export earnings. We moved from 216 million in 2019 to 238 million in 2020. So, Madam Speaker, when we analyze figures in this House, we have to dig deeper. Because I heard a presentation that made it appear as if our exports were in decline. Yes, but, Madam Speaker, let me explain to you. If you look at sugar, and if you look at cocoa, you may say our exports are in decline. But you have to look at the new face of agriculture. You have to look at the new winners, the new face of food. Madam Speaker, from Madam Speaker, your constituency in South Trelawney, yams earned US $37 million from export, up 24%. Aki, a lot of it from Clarendon. Aki earned US $31 million, up 7% over last year. And Madam Speaker, let's speak about value added. Our sources earned US $29 million, up 23% over last year. And you know I have to talk a little bit about mangoes. St. Julian. In the first year, we exported, this is 2019, we exported 1,300 boxes of mangoes. Last year, Madam Speaker, we exported over 9,000 boxes of mangoes. And Madam Speaker, the season has just started. And we have real challenges because of the connections and the flights and COVID-19. But already, we have sent over 2,000 boxes of mango to the US and to the United Kingdom. So, Madam Speaker, this government, this ministry is focused on exports. And let me tell you a little about what we're doing. Madam Speaker, our planned quarantine branch has submitted the requisite documentation, and they have received official clearance for Jamaica to recommence export to the United Kingdom of commodities such as mangoes, pineapples, coconuts, citrus, bananas, apples, pawpaw, and guava. Most of those we could not send prior to this year. Hear, hear. But it doesn't stop there, Madam Speaker, because working with our partners in the UK, we are now also able to send yams, sweet potatoes, cocoa, dasheen, and hot peppers without requiring a plant pest declaration, because they are now considered low risk. So all our exporters need is a pest-free certificate from the plant quarantine, and they can ship the yam, the cocoa, the dasheen to the United Kingdom. Hear, hear. Madam Speaker, the potential market is US $175 million. And as such, I'm calling on the private sector to see this as an opportunity to invest in agriculture, ramp up production, and let us satisfy some of those markets. Madam Speaker, additionally, we've been in talks with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we have officially requested market access for pork, sea cucumbers, crabs, oysters, and conch to China. And we now await their requirements. but the discussions have been going well, and we see a potential US $30 million market waiting for us there. Madam Speaker, I've done something else. I've established what we call the A-team, the Agriculture Trade Enforcement Advisory Mechanism. This is a technical team which includes the trade unit of the ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Plant Quarantine, Veterinary Services, and what this will do, Member Hilton, is identify and address non-tariff barriers that are impeding the exportation of Jamaican agricultural produce. We are focused on export. So, Madam Speaker, continuing the good news, the National Fisheries Authority has reported that it has completed its assessment of the status of sea cucumber fish population around the island shelf and the Pedro Blancs, and that based on the numbers, it will support the establishment of a small-scale sustainable fishery for a very high-valued product. Madam Speaker, you might not know, but sea cucumber in the Asian market fetches US $385 per kilogram. We believe that we here in Jamaica can harvest up to 30 tons of wet weight per year, which would give us up to US $30 million worth of exports. So, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce that I'm opening a limited entry commercial fishery for sea cucumbers to commence September 1st, 2021. Sorry, 2021. Madam Speaker, in relation to mangoes, we have earmarked $128 million to put in infrastructure for roads and water to build out 1,000 acres of mango orchards starting this financial year. We invite our private sector to contact the Agro-investment Corporation to see how they can become involved. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we have been approved by the USDA to construct a hot water treatment plant here in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, I talk about the mango numbers, but you may not know. When the mangoes leave here, despite being on a managed program where we have to assess the amount of fruit flies, when they leave here, they have to go to another state to be irradiated before they can be sold in the United States. With this hot water treatment plant, we will not have to do that. And anybody who has a mango tree in their home can send their mangoes so we can treat it here and we can export it. This is game-changing, Madam Speaker. The good news is we already have a private partner who is committed to build the hot water treatment plant. And we expect that this plant will be built before the next mango season. Yes, sir. Madam Speaker, I just have two more. Aki is our yellow gold. Through public-private partnership, we are seeking to build out at least 1,000 acres of Aki over the next 3 years. We are also going to engage those who now have trees so that we can provide them some training, and along with those who participate in the industry so that they can know the proper practices of pruning and reaping so that we can drive up our Aki production. We, Madam Speaker, are going after the Aki market worldwide because we have a competitive advantage. Madam Speaker, we've also identified turmeric as one of the crop lines with tremendous local and export potential. In this vein, we are strengthening our turmeric industry by putting 20 acres into planting material. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to announce that to facilitate the export market for turmeric, we are waiving all of JACRA's administrative fees for the next 2 years so that people can export their turmeric and tap into that viable market. Colleague members of Parliament, Madam Speaker, farmers, fishers, Jamaicans, we are at a most critical juncture in the history of our country. This pandemic has rearranged our lives and our world. The one thing that has remained true is that the countries who will survive are those that can feed themselves. Countries that can turn crisis into opportunity. Countries that value, appreciate, and regard agriculture and fisheries. I saw a social media viral video of Tamara Happyface Kwanda from Zambia. And I think she said it best. Agriculture should be seen as the oxygen of the economy. Critically vital, the most vital element for survival. Madam Speaker, we have a long, challenging road ahead of us. But I am assured on this journey that I have the most talented, innovative, and hard-working people with me, the farmers and fishers of Jamaica.
Are we
finished? We will transform Jamaica. We will create a new face of food where food security is priority, agribusiness development is key, climate-smart technologies are being incorporated, and we are expanding exports. Through agriculture and fisheries, we will build back stronger, we will build back better, so help us, God. God bless you all.
Madam Speaker, I'm sure this House has been treated to an excellent presentation from the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. But, Madam Speaker, while we make the point of the excellence of these presentations, we have to remind the Honourable House in relation to the timelines and to make it quite clear that an allowance is given on this occasion, but it may not be the case here on in. But congratulations again, Minister. Very, very well spoken. Madam Speaker, the other matters to be taken, the member from Central Clarendon and chairman of the Privilege Committee will do his request for approval of his resolution, and then we will have two bills taken together: the Judiciary Appellate Jurisdiction Amendment Act by the Minister of Justice, and then the Trademark Amendment Act by the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to make the motion of notice which I gave notice of earlier.
The question is that the standing orders be amended to allow the chairman to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Chairman?
The question is that the standing orders be suspended and to enable the Speaker to take the motion of which we gave earlier. Those in favor and those against. And Madam Speaker, I now move that the notice which I gave earlier be approved.
Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I propose to open the debate on two bills entitled the Judicature Appellate Jurisdiction Amendment Bill 2021 and also the Judicature Parish Courts Amendment Bill 2021. And Madam Speaker, I'm opening today. The bills having been laid on the floor of the House for the past 3 weeks, and we have asked the public at large to make comments on these bills, but no comments to date have come from any stakeholders or members of the public. And I thought it best, Madam Speaker, to at least let the public know that we intend to take this bill to completion, not today, but by opening the bill today and perhaps leaving it for another week or two, then at least the stakeholders and members of the public may have some interest in deciding to make any comments which they can pass on to other members of the House to make their comments, and in closing, I would respond to them. Madam Speaker, these bills are generally known as the right of appeal of the prosecution. And this, Madam Speaker, is fairly new in most jurisdictions. Indeed, Madam Speaker, it only came about in 2003 in the United Kingdom in response to a matter from 1990, the end of the last century, when a young man, Stephen Lawrence in the UK, was actually killed, and in fact, five white men were acquitted, and it raised great doubts as to whether justice was being done. But subsequent to that, Madam Speaker, additional evidence, mainly forensic, was brought to the fore that showed that, in fact, Stephen Lawrence in the UK was actually brutally murdered, and the prosecution was able to bring in the additional evidence to convict those persons. And England in 2003 therefore put in place a right of appeal. So, Madam Speaker, we have looked at the English legislation plus other CARICOM jurisdictions to look at how they have agreed to the right of appeal. And I know there are defense counsel in this Parliament, Madam Speaker, who do not support the double jeopardy, and we are not in support of the double jeopardy. What we have here, Madam Speaker, which we will explain, is exception to the double jeopardy. Exception. And I say, Madam Speaker, that when this bill first came to me, this is over 5 years ago, as a defense attorney, I was not in support, but having looked at it and modified, and over the last 3-4 years, we have modified it significantly so that only in exceptional cases will the prosecution have a right of appeal. And this, Madam Speaker, you will see how we proceed with it. So, Madam Speaker, I'm very pleased to present to the House of Representatives the Judicature Appellate Jurisdiction Bill 2021 and the Judicature Parish Courts Amendment Bill 2021, and I will do both at the same time, opening today. The amendments will grant a limited right of appeal to the prosecution in criminal proceedings in the parish court or circuit court. Madam Speaker, the bill seeks to, 1, amend the law to grant to the prosecution a right of appeal where there has been a verdict of acquittal in an administration of a justice offense. Secondly, Madam Speaker, where there has been a verdict of acquittal based on a point of law or a point of mixed law and fact that was erroneously upheld by the trial judge. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, the sentence handed down was unduly lenient and manifestly inadequate for the offence, having regard to any applicable sentencing guideline, or the court did not have the power to pass the sentence. Further, Madam Speaker, the bills will allow the prosecutor to refer an acquittal to the Court of Appeal for their opinion on any point of law, any point of mixed law and fact, and where the trial was conducted by a judge sitting without a jury on any point of fact that arose in the case. Second, Madam Speaker, an amendment will also be made to the Criminal Justice Administration Act to provide an exception to the rule against double jeopardy. This would allow the prosecution, with the written consent of the Director of Public Prosecutions, to apply to the Court of Appeal to quash an acquittal and direct a retrial in certain circumstances. Madam Speaker, the Legal Aid Act is also being amended to allow legal aid to be available to a respondent in any criminal appeal. Certain procedural requirements that will accompany the limited right of appeal by the prosecution will also be provided for. These include, among other things, the time limits for when the prosecution may give notice of and serve an application for leave to appeal and prefer an indictment for retrial of the acquitted person. This House is asked to note that the definition of prosecutor is being expanded to take into consideration the other persons who may legally exercise prosecutorial powers. The definition of prosecutor will be the DPP or any of the attorneys at law employed in that office, or an attorney at law to whom the DPP has granted authority to prosecute the case, a clerk of the court, the Integrity Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecutions, the Director General of the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, and a person who has initiated a private prosecution. Madam Speaker, this matter has been ongoing for quite some time, as I indicated. Actually, when I came into office in 2016, it was one that was presented to the Legislation Committee coming from the last administration. Not the present bill. A previous bill which was too expansive. And it was modified, Madam Speaker. I made several changes through consultations with all the key institutions. And what we now have is a more balanced and acceptable law. Madam Speaker, historically in the criminal justice system, it has been recognized that, having regard to all its resources, the state has more power than an accused person. Consequently, the law has traditionally provided certain safeguards to protect the accused from this imbalance of power in favor of the state. The safeguards include the presumption of innocence, the right to due process and a fair trial, the prosecution's burden of proof, the right of appeal afforded to accused persons against conviction of an offence, and the double jeopardy rule. Madam Speaker, this imbalance in favor of the state has, however, shifted over time. Modern developments, such as the intricate transnational nature of modern criminal operations with extensive resources, and the technological advancement in forensic science, particularly the use of DNA evidence, have necessitated a review of some of the traditional rules. Strict adherence to the traditional rules can now serve to undermine the integrity of the justice system. For example, where subsequent to an acquittal, fresh evidence becomes available in the form of a voluntary confession or DNA evidence, which point to the guilt of an acquitted person, the prosecution cannot appeal at this time against the acquittal, and justice is not served. Madam Speaker, the prosecution has no right of appeal, whereas the judge has misdirected the jury in his summing up, and which has led to an acquittal. Madam Speaker, the prosecution also has no right of appeal against an acquittal that was obtained as a result of actions designed to pervert the course of justice. Such actions, Madam Speaker, may take the form of intimidation of witnesses, the destruction or disappearance of material evidence, and perjury. These are administration of justice offences. Madam Speaker, many of our Caribbean neighbours have already passed legislation that allows the prosecution to have a limited right of appeal. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the amendment will bring us in line with CARICOM and Commonwealth nations such as Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Bermuda, and the United Kingdom. Madam Speaker, the time has come for Jamaica to amend its laws and provide the prosecutors with a right of appeal. Madam Speaker, I will now highlight the main features of the bill, of the two bills. In the Appellate Jurisdiction Amendment Act 2021, Clause 2. This clause provides the introduction of new terms and their subsequent definitions. Madam Speaker, the clause introduces new terms such as administration of justice offence, which has been defined to mean any offence of perverting the course of justice, perjury, bribery, or intimidation of, or interference with a witness, juror, or judicial officer. The clause also expands the definition of prosecutor, which will be elucidated, which I elucidated earlier. Madam Speaker, Clause 2 further empowers the prosecutor to appeal to the Court of Appeal against a decision of a judge of the Supreme Court on any point of law, any point of mixed law and fact, or on the ground that there has been an administration of justice offence in instances where the decision results in an acquittal or another form of termination of the case. The clause also empowers the prosecutor to appeal to the Court of Appeal against any sentence imposed by the Supreme Court on the basis that the court did not have the power to impose the sentence, or the sentence imposed was manifestly inadequate or unduly lenient unless the sentence imposed is the maximum allowed under law. Madam Speaker, the clause goes on to set out the procedural requirements in filing the appeal and the process upon the appeal being filed. Notably, Madam Speaker, once the Court of Appeal has heard the appeal with respect to any point of mixed law and fact, or on the ground that there has been an administration of justice offence, the court is empowered to quash the decision made by the trial judge and substitute an appropriate decision or affirm the decision and dismiss the appeal. The Court of Appeal has the same power regarding sentences appeal, that is, either to quash the sentence imposed by the trial court and substitute an appropriate sentence, or affirm the sentence handed down at trial. Madam Speaker, Clause 3 amends Section 19 of the Act to expand the right of appeal to include the prosecutor. Clause 4, Madam Speaker, amends Section 21 of the Act to allow any appeal to be made. Clause 5, Madam Speaker, allows the prosecutor to refer an acquittal that had been tried on indictment or information by virtue of a special statutory summary jurisdiction to the Court of Appeal for their opinion on any point of law, any point of mixed law and fact, or where the trial was conducted by a judge sitting without a jury, any point of fact that may arise in the case. Madam Speaker, the clause also allows the prosecutor in criminal proceedings where an accused has been discharged on the grounds that there is no case to answer. The proceedings have been stayed or a ruling has been issued to terminate the trial, to refer any point of law, point of mixed law and fact to the Court of Appeal, and the court shall consider the point and provide its opinion. Importantly, it must be noted that the reference will not affect the trial or any acquittal. Clause 6, Madam Speaker, seeks to consequentially amend other pieces of legislation. The clause amends the Legal Aid Act to allow legal aid to be available to a respondent in criminal appeals by a prosecutor. Madam Speaker, the clause goes on to amend the Criminal Justice Administration Act to provide an exception to the rule against double jeopardy. This would allow the DPP or another prosecutor with the consent of the DPP to apply to the Court of Appeal to quash an acquittal and direct a retrial in specific circumstances. That is where there's new evidence, where the new evidence is compelling, and where it is in the public interest for the case to be retried. The retrial, Madam Speaker, would only apply to cases where a person has been acquitted of an offence in proceedings and indictment on information by virtue of the special statutory summary jurisdiction of a judge of a parish court or an appeal against conviction. Madam Speaker, the Parish Courts Amendment Act is similar in many ways, but the slight adjustments I will now note. Clause 2 of the Parish Courts Amendment Act, Madam Speaker, provides the introduction of new terms and their subsequent definitions. The clause introduces new terms, Madam Speaker, such as the administration of justice offence, which has been defined to mean any offence of perverting the course of justice, perjury, bribery, or intimidation of, or interference with a witness, juror, or judicial officer. The clause also expands, Madam Speaker, the definition of prosecutor, which was elucidated earlier. Clause 2 further empowers the prosecutor to appeal to the Court of Appeal against a decision of a judge of the Supreme Court on any point of law, any point of mixed law and fact, or on the ground that there has been an administration of justice offense in instances where the decisions result in an acquittal or another form of termination of the case. The clause also empowers the prosecutor to appeal to the Court of Appeal against any sentence imposed by the Supreme Court on the basis that the court did not have the power to impose the sentence, or the sentence imposed on manifestly inadequate or unduly lenient unless the sentence imposed is the maximum allowed under law. Madam Speaker, the clause goes on to set out the procedural requirements in filing the appeal and the process upon appeal being filed. Notably, Madam Speaker, once the Court of Appeal has heard the appeal with respect to any point of mixed law and fact, or on the ground that there has been an administration offense, a justice offense, the court is empowered to quash the decision made by the trial judge and substitute an appropriate decision, or affirm the decision and dismiss the appeal. The Court of Appeal has the same power regarding sentences appealed, that is, either quash the sentence imposed by the trial court and substitute an appropriate sentence, or affirm the sentence handed down the trial. Clause 3, Madam Speaker, provides a revamping of sections 293 and 305 of the Act so as to provide a more coherent and cohesive ordering of the sections. Madam Speaker, these are the clauses which will be effective. But I want to indicate to this House, we have never had this right of appeal, because it is felt that once you have a trial and the man is acquitted, that should be it. That has been the common law position for centuries. The truth of the matter, Madam Speaker, is that in the past few decades, it has been recognized well that there are many cases where witnesses have been interfered with, witnesses have been prevented from giving evidence, and where DNA evidence was not available at the time of trial to demonstrate the guilt of the person, and therefore the accused is able to get a not guilty verdict, and justice in those circumstances are not served. And what we have tried to do, Madam Speaker, is not to knock away the double jeopardy rule, attrifois acquit. We want to look at the exceptional cases where justice demands that because of perjury, because of various breaches, that the person who has been acquitted should really not be acquitted because the evidence is pointing the other way. And with additional material, especially the new evidence, as Madam Speaker, I pointed out with Stephen Lawrence's case in London, where grave injustice was done, but after additional research, the DNA evidence was able to convict these men who were clearly engaged in a hate crime. It's less than 30 years ago. The point, Madam Speaker, is the defense does have the right to appeal. No problem. But at the same time, Madam Speaker, where points of law have to be adjudicated, no reason why it shouldn't go to the Court of Appeal. Points of mixed law and fact, where there's a combination. Obviously, that's what it is. So, Madam Speaker, I ask members to carefully examine the bill before you start dismissing it. The bills before you start dismissing it, and make your presentation if you have changes or suggestions where I'm willing to look at it. So, for the moment, Madam Speaker, I now ask that the debate be suspended until further notice.
I will happily grant the suspension of your debate until further notice. Further notice. Those against? The ayes have it. The debate is suspended. Minister Shaw.
Thank you.
No, we're not dividing at this point. We're not dividing at all.
Thank you.
No, we're not dividing.
Thank you.
Can't put it down like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Parliament is invited to examine the bill which seeks to amend the Trademark Act of 1999. In Cabinet decision dated the 13th of May 2013, Cabinet gave approval for Jamaica's accession to the Madrid Protocol and the issuance of drafting instructions to the Chief Parliamentary Council for the requisite amendments to be made to the Trademarks Act and rules. The Trademarks Act 1999 is to be amended now to allow for the implementation of the Madrid Protocol in Jamaica and accession to the protocol. The Madrid Protocol is included in the Madrid system for the international registration of marks, which is governed by 2 treaties. The Madrid Agreement concerning the international registration of marks, 1981, the Madrid Protocol relating to the Madrid Agreement, adopted in 1989 and entered into force on December 1, 1995. The Madrid system of international registration of trademarks has 2 primary objectives, Madam Speaker: facilitating and obtaining of protection for trademarks and the more efficient management of trademarks and service marks by the owners of the marks or their agents. The Madrid Protocol allows for the following: a centralized filing procedure for international registration of marks through the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office in the English language, 1 set of applicable rules for the international registration of marks, and fees being paid in 1 currency, including 1 set of administrative fees paid to the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. Madam Speaker, Jamaica's accession to the protocol will result in Jamaica being designated for the international registration of marks. This would be beneficial to Jamaica as it will, inter alia, simplify the application process for marks, improve access in global recognition and adjudication. Consequently, a Jamaican applicant may file 1 application in English with JIPO and thereafter pay a fee to JIPO to obtain an international registration effective in all select member countries of the Madrid Protocol as decided by the trademark owner. Accordingly, this bill seeks to make provisions for the Madrid Protocol as it provides for, inter alia, the making of an international application and registration procedures, communication with the International Bureau, effecting an international registration, recordings of marks in the International Register, and the administration of fees in respect of the international registration of trademarks. Madam Speaker, the bill therefore seeks to amend the Trademarks Act to provide for administration locally of the international registration of a trademark, setting out the criteria for the international registration of a trademark, application procedure of international registration of trademarks, making provision for the opposition procedure for the international registration of a trademark, and administration of fees in respect of the international registration of trademarks. So, Madam Speaker, I want to stress to you the significance of the Madrid Protocol. While we are here now, outside of the protocol, if we want to export an item to 20 countries in the world, we have to apply to each of those 20 countries to have our trademark registered. Right now, that's what we have to do now, Madam Speaker. When we adopt the Madrid Protocol, we only make one application. The protocol spreads it out to all of the countries that we want to export to. So that is the significance of it. And Madam Speaker, I must tell you, I can't understand why it has taken us so long to get to this point. But better late than never. So in a brief clause-by-clause analysis, Madam Speaker, the bill is entitled an act to amend the Trademark Act. In Section 2, Madam Speaker, we have the interpretation section of the Act, and is amended to incorporate key terms to comply with the protocol. So these, of course, have to do with the various terms related to the Madrid Protocol and the Madrid Agreement. Those terms will ensure the alignment of the Act with the Madrid Protocol, Madam Speaker. The amendment of Section 9 is to allow equal protection for trademarks used for identical or similar goods or services, and trademarks used for dissimilar goods or services. Section 11 of the Act is being amended to add an additional absolute ground of refusal of registration of a trademark where the trademark misrepresents or misappropriates the traditional knowledge or traditional cultural expressions of indigenous or local communities. Section 12 of the Act is being amended to add another ground of refusal of registration of a trademark where the trademark consists of or contains a representation of the coat of arms of Jamaica, the national flag of Jamaica, any other Jamaican national emblem or symbol, unless the registrar is satisfied that consent has been given by or on behalf of the government of Jamaica. This section, when amended, will also provide that where a trademark, which is the subject of an application or registration, contains the name Jamaica or the name of another country or abbreviations or homonyms thereof, a map of Jamaica or national colors of Jamaica or another country, a national emblem or symbol of Jamaica or national emblem or symbol of another country, the registrar may impose a condition or a limitation on the trademark in the register to the effect that goods or services for which the trademark is registered shall originate in Jamaica or in another country, as the case may be. This is intended to ensure protection for country names in the trademark system from being used in trademarks without the goods or services originating in the country. This is very important because we see a lot of illegal things. Jamaican products being called Jamaican products in foreign territories and never made in Jamaica, Madam Speaker. So it is named in the trademark or without there being any genuine connection to the country named in the trademark. Very critical. Section 14 is being amended to correct an error in reference to paragraph B instead of paragraph A. Section 22 is being amended to replace the trademarks journal with the intellectual property journal. Madam Speaker, there's a new section starting with 26A, outlines the circumstances in which an international trademark application under the Madrid Protocol may be filed with the registrar by persons who are either nationals of Jamaica, are domiciled in Jamaica, or who have a real and effective industrial or commercial establishment in Jamaica. The section also outlines the procedure to be followed by the registrar where she receives a properly filed international trademark application under the Madrid Protocol. Section 26B, new section, provides that all communications, including international application to the International Bureau, shall be in English and be transmitted through the registrar. New section 26C provides that international trademark applicants may request that their international trademark application be extended by the International Bureau to other territories not originally included in the original application. New section 26D provides that an international registration of a mark shall be valid for 10 years from the date of registration, but that upon the expiry of 5 years from the date of registration, the international registration shall become independent of the basic application or national registration. This section further provides that the protection resulting from an international registration may not be invoked if within that 5-year period the basic application or national registration is cancelled, invalidated, or revoked. So, Madam Speaker, Section 26E, also a new section, where the registrar shall examine international registration on substantive grounds only. New Section 26E specifies that the registrar shall publish the international registration in the Intellectual Property Journal and proceed to examine the international registration on substantive legal grounds only. Under the Madrid Protocol, the International Bureau examines the applications for formalities and priority claims. The section also provides that persons may oppose international registrations coming into Jamaica by filing with the registrar a notice of opposition within 2 months from the date of publication. New Section 26F specifies that the registrar shall notify the International Bureau of the refusal to register any international registration within 18 months of notification of registration by the International Bureau, along with a statement of the grounds of refusal. New Section 26G provides that when all the procedures before the registrar are completed and provisional refusal has been either totally or partially withdrawn, the registrar shall send notification to the International Bureau to that effect. New Section 26H provides that when all the procedures before the registrar are completed and the registrar has decided to confirm the provisional refusal, the registrar shall send notification to the International Bureau to that effect. New Section 26I provides that when all the procedures before the registrar are completed and there is no ground for the registrar to refuse protection, the registrar shall within 18 months send to the International Bureau a statement to the effect that protection is granted to the mark. New Section 26J Madam Speaker, provides that after the registrar has notified the International Bureau that protection is granted or refused for the mark, there is a further decision which affects the protection of a mark. The registrar shall send to the International Bureau a further statement indicating the goods and services for which the mark is protected. New Section 26K clarifies that an international registration designating Jamaica will have the same legal effect as if the application for the registration of the mark had been a national application filed directly with the registrar and the mark had been registered directly by the registrar. It also stipulates that the filing date of the international registration is the date of the international registration or subsequent designation. New Section 26L prescribes that where an international registration designating Jamaica is cancelled by the International Bureau, the person who was the holder of the international registration may file an application for the registration of the same trademark directly with the registrar as a national application. New Section 26M permits international registrations designating Jamaica to be renewed for a period of 10 years from the date of expiry of the international registration. The application to renew an international registration must be filed directly with the International Bureau. New Section 26N requires that if an international registration designating Jamaica is a collective mark or a certification mark, it must comply with the provisions of the first and second schedules to the Trademark Act. New Section 26O stipulates that where a mark that is the subject of a national registration in Jamaica is also the subject of an international registration and both registrations are in the name of the same person, the international registration shall be deemed to replace the national registration, subject to certain specified conditions. The holder of the international registration may request the registrar to take note of that international registration in the trademarks register. New Section 55A provides for preliminary search and advice service which allow persons to be given advice as to the registrability of a mark prior to application. The amendment of Section 558 is to replace Jamaica Intellectual Property, the word office, which is defined in Section 2. The amendment of Section 59 is also to replace Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, the word office. The amendment of Section 60 is to clarify that any appeal that may be filed under the Act against a decision of the registrar must be filed within 28 days after the date of the decision, and that any decision, judgment, or order of the Court of Appeal on appeal concerning an international registration shall be communicated to the International Bureau by the registrar. New Section 61A provides that subject to Section 61B, 61C, 62A, any recording made in the International Register in respect of an international registration shall, to the extent that it applies to Jamaica as a designated contracting party, have the same effect as it had been recorded by the registrar in the Register of Trademarks at JIPO. Under Section 61B, as I'm rounding down, Madam Speaker, the registrar may declare that a change in ownership of an international registration has no effect in Jamaica. The registrar must provide the reasons and the legal basis, and the holder of the international registration may request a review by the registrar within 28 days. Under Section 61C, the registrar may declare that a limitation of goods and services in an international registration has no effect in Jamaica. The registrar must provide the reasons on the legal basis, and the holder of the international registration may request a review by the registrar within 28 days. Under Section 62A, the registrar may declare that a correction in an international registration has no effect in Jamaica. The registrar must provide the reasons and the legal basis, and the holder of the international registration may request a review by the registrar within 28 days. And, Madam Speaker, the amendment of Section 78 is to replace Jamaica Intellectual Property Office with just the word office. And the third schedule of the Principal Act is amended by deleting certain paragraphs which are no longer applicable. Madam Speaker, as I complete this presentation, I would like to say that the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, the private sector organization, and many other of our agencies and associations are extremely happy that we have reached the point now for the entry into the Madrid Protocol. It is significant for us in the export market. It's significant for Jamaica in the processed food sector. We don't have to go register in 20, 30 countries. One registration with the Madrid Protocol and all 20, 30 countries are covered one time. So, Madam Speaker, as we move to embrace the Madrid Protocol, it will help us to change gears on the global marketplace. I end by saying and reminding everybody, the book of Job, chapter 14, verse 7. In the book of Job, Madam Speaker, it says, there is hope of a tree if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and from the tender branch thereof it shall not cease. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the suspension of the sectoral debate until Tuesday, the 18th of May 2021, when the speakers will be the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, the Minister of Science, Technology and Energy, and the member for Southwest Clarendon, Lothian Cousins. May it please you, Madam Speaker. There is not intended to do any further business for the day. I therefore invite you to adjourn this Honourable House until Tuesday, the 18th of May at 2 p.m. at the George William Gordon House. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
The question is that the sectoral debate be suspended until next Tuesday, and also those in favour, those against, the ayes have it, and also that this Honourable House be adjourned until next week Tuesday at 2 p.m. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This Honourable House is now adjourned.
The National Family Planning